Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you guys are joining me again. Today's video is going to be a little different than normal. I will be having somebody do my makeup, and that somebody is my cousin Joshua. He is a little makeup expert, much better than me, that's for sure. He's going to be showing us how to bake, how to contour, how to do things that I've never really done to myself before. I'm gonna share this video with you guys. You guys can get some makeup tips. Hope you enjoy it. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to get notifications when I post more videos. I love you guys. I hope you enjoy. This is my personal makeup artist, aka my cousin Joshua. Hello. He's the one that will be doing my makeup today. Basically a makeup tutorial. As you guys know, or if you know me, you know that my makeup is very basic. I'll do like a drugstore foundation, some mascara, and then maybe my eyebrows, and then I'll go to work. But today he's going to be doing like a full glam makeup tutorial. Well, kind of makeup tutorial. It's a makeup lesson, really. So he has inspired me to up my makeup skills. So we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Yeah, let's go ahead and start. What we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go ahead and set the face with a primer. Primers are basically kind of important in, I guess, the makeup world because they reduce pores. They allow for the makeup when you put the foundation on to give it like a creaseless finish, and it just hydrates the skin, just because sometimes makeup can be a little bit drying just depending on what you're going to do, and it also depends on your skin type. So if you're really oily, you want to go with a primer that's maybe going to be a little bit more matte. If you're really dry, then you want to do something that's a little bit hydrating, or you can find a primer probably that's in between. And so I like to use the Bobbi Brown Vitamin E enriched primer because it kind of gives a little bit of both, a matte, and kind of helps moisturize the skin. And of course you could use it with, you know, your fingers. I like to use a beauty blender. I never really like to touch my face with my hands. A little bit OCD like that. So the primer has been put on. Next, we always go ahead, I like to go ahead and start with like foundation. So really it just kind of depends for each skin type. I always say go ahead and go to any kind of like beauty store and get matched. Jacqueline likes to use, I think, the Makeup Forever.
I use Makeup Forever, and I use their primer also.
So we're gonna go ahead and apply the foundation. I like to use a foundation brush. I'm just gonna go ahead and shake it a little bit.
I use a brush also. I feel like the brush, the blender, like soaks up a lot of
It does, product. And so that's what it's kind of notorious for. To separate the face into quadrants, go down into the neck a little bit so that you don't look like a, you know, disconjointed Barbie head on a body if it's not the right color. So it kind of helps to blend in a little bit more. The foundation has been applied. She's let it sit for a little bit. I usually like to kind of let it sit for like a minute or two before we go ahead and start like the next phase, which for me is concealer. So concealers kind of help to bring out, you know, the bright areas in our face, especially if we have like dark circles. Whenever we put concealers on, it helps to eliminate the dark circles. Some of us, like myself, are prone to having like deep set eyes, and so you want to use a concealer to kind of bring that out, especially if you're going to be doing like eyeshadows and anything like that. And then you can go ahead and apply the concealer to certain places, kind of like the T-zone. So I like to use the Tarte concealer.
I just started using Fenty, which I highly recommend their concealer because it's thick, but it's also it feels very like moisturized, like thin at the same time.
Yeah, and so a lot of people, it just really depends on what you're comfortable with, what formula you like, and that also is kind of a preference. And then I like to use kind of like a concealer brush. Jacqueline has very sensitive eyes. And then I'm going to go ahead and go down the nose, because this will eventually later help me to do a little bit of a contour to her nose. And then of course you want to apply concealer to areas where the light hits the most and where it's going to reflect, and usually the bridge of our nose is kind of those main points of our face. Concealer has been applied, so you can kind of see a little bit more how brightened up the center part of our face is, which I like to call a little bit of the T-zone. And so that is definitely going to help whenever we start to bake and we start to apply other products to her face. So now that the concealer has been applied and we've let it sit for a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and start the contour. For us, contouring basically just kind of accentuates the face a little bit more. You know, it helps to shape the face to kind of however you want it to be. I like to use the Kat Von D Shade Light. It's been pretty good for me, and it's a powder, so powders to me are a little bit easier. They absorb the oils a lot.
This is the one, there you go. This is the one from Kat Von D, which I actually really do like.
I always start at, you know, the high point of our cheek, right by the ear, and then kind of bring it in. And then I always tell Jacqueline to kind of make like a kissy face or like a fish face. And it allows to see a little bit of an accentuation there, kind of when she puckers up a little bit, and you just kind of go up lightly. But
everything looks pretty extreme right now. Like I look like I have like a cake, and then I look like I have lines everywhere. But once you, at the end, once it's all put together, it all looks great.
And then I like to go a little bit into the forehead area. Kind of helps with pictures and just softens it up. Doesn't make it look so harsh or noticeable, especially if anyone's kind of like self-conscious with their foreheads. It's just a natural way of shading that just a little bit more. And then I like to do just a little bit on the jawline. Then I like to go ahead and highlight her eyes with the light powder. And this also helps to matte the concealer that I had applied, because it was a cream concealer. So it definitely gives it a much more matte finish. So that's it for the face. Now I'm going to go ahead and work on the nose. And so I like to just use a little kind of like eyeshadow brush. And that just kind of helps draw a little line down the nose.
And we're still using the Kat Von D.
The same Kat Von D. And voila, we've gone ahead and contoured her nose. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is baking. And so baking, what it allows us to do is to further help prevent kind of like an oily breakout towards the end of the night. It'll also brighten up kind of like the central area of her face. and it just kind of helps smooth everything else out at the end whenever I kind of start to blend in with just like a regular kabuki brush.
Kind of see it. I do not do this step. This is too advanced for me.
Close your eyes. And I always start in the eye. And so it'll get in the hair too, but it's definitely an intense step. And again, doing like the little T-zone areas. Anywhere that you kind of highlighted with the light part of the contour kit. So she's definitely gonna look really powdered.
Now I look like a drag queen, and there's so much powder on my eyelashes that I can barely open them. This is where I tell myself, you have to trust the process, because I look like a crazy person.
So while that is kind of like sitting, I go ahead and start working on eyebrows. And I tend to spend a little bit more time on it just because I think a brow makes a look. With Jacqueline, it's one of those things where it's a love-hate. We have different kind of preferences on how we like to do our eyebrows. I like to tend to go in a little bit more, curve them a little bit. She tends to kind of blend them, fade them in, and we're both different, so we kind of put our own little touch to the eyebrows, but our eyebrow game is pretty strong, so I will say that. So
I'm gonna pause the video here, he's gonna do my eyebrows, and then we'll resume when the eyebrows are done.
So I just finished doing her eyebrows. I like to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills powder along with the regular Anastasia brow brush, which you can use any brow brush, it doesn't necessarily matter, I'm just kind of OCD like that. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and dust off the Laura Mercier powder that I did for baking. And this is just like a regular kabuki brush. I use just like the regular e.l.f. one, and just kind of blend off the powder along with the contour. You can start to blend that in, and it won't look so harsh. This is kind of my favorite part of the process, just because you start to really see the look kind of come together. Most people kind of freak out when they see all the powders and they're just like, what the heck are you doing to me? But like Jacqueline said, you kind of have to trust in the process. So if you want more definition for the eyebrow, a nice little trick that doesn't take that much time out of your day is to, with the same concealer that we used earlier, you can kind of line the bottom of your brow and it allows it to kind of like pop. You just always start kind of like somewhere in the middle, and this is where you can kind of create a little bit of an arch. Natural part of her eye. And then you can kind of go in a little bit. It also helps brighten it up just enough. And then you can kind of blend it out so it doesn't look so harsh. So after I've kind of done this step, I like to go ahead and set what I've already put on with like a setting spray. I like to use the Urban Decay All Nighter.
I use a same kind Urban Decay, but it's a hydrating one.
Okay, so now that the setting spray has kind of dried out, next I like to do another translucent powder, but this one I really like to pack in, and what it does is it now blends all like the harsh parts of the contour in, and it really kind of softens the face. I like to use the Too Faced Peach Perfect, and so it kind of has this like peach scent. It kind of tastes peach.
Like
so after I've done that, for me the next step is always kind of highlight. And so since Jacqueline is one that likes a little bit more of a rosy cheek, but also likes for it to stand out, I like the Fenty Beauty kind of highlighter kit, and it really just depends on how much you want to shine. Yes.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Set this, and then we can go ahead and have Jacqueline do her eyeshadow and her lip, and then we'll be back on camera after this.
This is the finishing look.
I think it looks good if I don't say so myself.
The artist.
But I'm not a professional by any means, so please don't judge me on half the things that I said. This is
Just
my first
some
time.
things that are a little extreme that none of us know how to do, like baking. I've never heard of that in my life. So he has inspired me, and I hope it has inspired you to take your makeup to the next level. I will see you guys next video. Thank you so much for watching. Joshua, do you know what to say next?
Oh Lord, it's like the subscribe thing somewhere down there, and then up here is something else. Like, God, I don't know.
It's okay. He got the gist of it. I love you guys. Say goodbye.
Bye.